Hi, I'm Andy Ely, Senior Funeral Director for G. Seller Independent Funeral Directors, and we've been serving bereaved families since 1910. I'm sure you're all well aware there's lots of different myths, taboos and misconceptions around what happens behind the scenes within the funeral profession. So we decided to put together this series of podcasts to answer those questions and hopefully dispel those myths. So please do like, share and subscribe, and send those questions, send them to liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we will do our absolute best to answer them for you. It genuinely is our family caring for your family. Welcome to the latest episode of Lifting the Lid. Today I have the current president of the National Association of Funeral Directors, which we abbreviate to NAFD, with me. So welcome, John Adams. How are you?
Yes, well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Good to meet you. So John, it's not the first time I've met you. I remember as quite a newbie, I guess, into the funeral profession. I took an exam and you were the invigilator on it.
Yeah.
And you came along and you tapped on the table like that and you just put your thumbs up like you've got this. And
Yeah,
I think that kind of resonated with me. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's great to be here today. Thanks for having me on here. It's fantastic.
Brilliant. Thank you. So John, your journey. Tell us, how did you become firstly into the funeral profession and then obviously into your current role?
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey, life. I sort of grew up around the industry, family service in Bridge North, Shropshire.
Okay.
I'm fourth generation to be doing this, and like Joseph, I was on weekends, in the evenings I was there, in the workshop, in the mortuary, possibly a little bit too young in the mortuary. That's another story, and just very much part of my life growing up. My plan was to leave school at 16 and go straight into the business, but I decided after a year I was too young to be in that environment.
Okay.
So I decided to join the Royal Navy.
All right, okay.
And I had 8 years in the Royal Navy. Had a very interesting time there. Always with the intention to come back. But then I came back in 2012. And it's been 10 years actually back with Perry and Phillips. And it's been fantastic. A fantastic time. And I feel very much in the right place in my life.
Yeah, okay.
And feel very honoured to do what I do. When I left the Navy, the military is all about education and development, self-development, working in a team, and it's about how I sort of transferred those skills into the funeral profession. And I counted my qualifications straight away in Liverpool with my tutor David Barrington, who's a good friend who I work with now at the executive level at NAFD,
Okay.
and did my diplomas. And naturally, when I completed those, I wanted to do more, so I became a tutor,
Absolutely.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I got to learn a lot and meet more people, and then following that, I got invited onto the National Executive Committee. And when I got invited onto that NEFD, I wasn't quite sure what it was.
Okay.
But again, it was to be part of the steering group for the industry to move us forward.
So before you carry on, let's talk about the NAFD.
Yep.
Yeah, steering group. What is it? Just for those watching, what is the National Association of Funeral Directors? I know it's a governing body, but talk us through it a little bit.
So it's been established. It was established in 1905 by a gentleman called Henry Sherry, who is based in London. And I've done a lot of reflecting in my time as president about what is the NAFD, what does it stand for, what is its purpose, and what's its future, what's its reason why, and it's firstly the NAFD is a full representation of the whole industry.
Okay.
And for me, that's really important. You've got the largest corporate companies in the country in there to the smallest independents. So it's a true reflection of the whole industry. So there might be some people that you can't connect with because you're different, but actually that's even more a reason to be part of the NAFD for me. So I'm from a small independent, and I'm on the executive committee with CEOs of funeral partners and co-op, and it's about working together for the best interest of the industry.
Absolutely.
So obviously there's elements of government legislation, there's a platform to connect, and if you have local issues in your community, it's about how you solve those issues working together. And my whole, my year has been based about being together, and being together is how you move forward in the most positive way.
I guess as well that that sort of resonates with the Royal Navy. That's it. That's exactly it's team, isn't it?
Teamworks.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it. Yeah, that's the motto.
So I imagine you would have learned a tremendous amount in the Navy about teamwork, getting everyone together for a common goal.
Yeah, it's about people, about connection, and I always think when things are going well, sailing for the Med is easy. But actually, when you're in a difficult position and when there's a problem, that's when you see the true colours of a team. And it's about how you get that team really strong so you can respond to any issue.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Problem solving.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's face it, we have them every now and again.
That's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It truly is. I'm currently doing the next diploma.
Oh, good.
That was very much part of that, what to do if goes wrong.
Yeah.
Let's just say I've gone somewhat over my word count on that. How did you become president?
So when I joined the exec committee, I had 12 months there, and then I was asked to become president of the association, again, which is a huge honour.
Yeah.
I was probably only 32 at the time, 31. And then you go through sort of a chain of office then. So you go in as second vice president, vice president, and then go through as president. I had 2 years as vice president due to COVID, which actually, on hindsight, was just more time to prepare for the role. And as the 12 months, which I'm approaching the end now of this role, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been such a huge honour. Relentless, it's non-stop, but it's fantastic.
So you're a family man as well. I mean, how do you manage that? You've got a family business, you've got your family, you're president of the NAFD. That must be a tremendous pull on your time.
Yeah, it is. It's challenging, but that's part of life again. It's balancing, and I've got 2 young boys, a 3rd child on the way, but my wife.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, more chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
more problem solving. But my family, and my sister and my dad and all my family and my wife especially, they know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When I went into this role, I was very clear about what's the reason why I'm doing this, what do I want to achieve, and who am I doing this for? And that was really important to me. This isn't about me. This is about the industry, how I can help the industry and society and bereave people. And my personal goal is about how I can create a positive environment and help society. And the wider that reach goes, the better. I'm not sure how far it can go, but it's been fantastic to do that. And my family fully understands and they fully support me and they believe in me, which is fantastic.
Brilliant. So I'm going to touch on something in a few moments about because you've actually got some really good foresight with bereavement care in schools, which we'll touch on in a moment. Yep. I'm just wondering, the highs and lows of being the president. I mean, it must be quite intense and quite involved. It must have an impact on you.
Yeah, the intensity is high, but then again, how I operate, if I've got a meeting or a talk to do in a certain part of the country, I'm with my family again, so I'll usually travel to that location, give a talk, meet the members, engage, connect, learn, and also talk as well with them. And then after the meeting, I'll drive home. So like a 2-hour drive at home at 11 p.m. or at midnight. And that's, again, it's about my reason why again. And my family are obviously my priority, but the role obviously is so important to me as well. So it's about just pushing through. So I could stay over and have a nice breakfast, but actually it's about the job.
Well, you must have met a tremendous amount of skilled professionals. It must be pretty rewarding to know that it's something that you're kind of leading to a degree at the forefront of. It's
incredible. And actually what I've learned, I've gone all over the UK, Northern Ireland, Scotland, down to the south coast of England, and meeting members from all over the UK. And what I'm really interested in is because all these areas I go to are having the same issues. Okay. And again, what I want us to do as we move forward now, and our new CEO as well, which he's as passionate as I am, it's about how we really connect up all these areas together, and that's how you become even stronger as well.
Absolutely, totally agree. You seem incredibly passionate, John. Have you suffered a loss yourself? Is there something that drives this?
So yeah, with the bereavement awareness within schools, which again we'll come on to, a lot of that has come from the loss of my own mother. Her name was Maria and still is, when I was 12 years of age. And I think that experience that I went through it has shaped me. It has shaped me. And I think it's an example that any dark moment in someone's life, it's how you flip it over and you turn it into light. And that's what I use my mum for. She's my fuel and fire in everything I do. How I serve families, how I want to be at home, and with the NAFD.
Yeah.
And again, with the education within the schools, it's how we empower society and community, give education. And I really believe the outcome can be so positive. So yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you. Life after the presidency. What are we thinking? What's going to happen there? Is this back focused on family, the family business?
Well, as I say, I'm still fully engaged in my family service. Third child on the way. I said to someone recently, it'd be a nice distraction having a third child. Yeah. And they're like, John, don't say that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Sorry, Nell. But I've recently been appointed as funeral industry advisor for Child Bereavement UK.
Okay.
So the petition, which has just finished now, we've got the response from Parliament, and the work will carry on. So that's very much a marathon, not a sprint. So there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
The NAFD want me to stay fully engaged with that and to support me with that. The new president coming through wants me to stay there and push that through. So it's an ongoing mission, really.
Oh, that's brilliant. So let's talk about this. So obviously driven by Maria, by Mum.
Yeah.
Bereavement, death, information onto the national curriculum, into schools. Something you're very passionate about and at the forefront of driving. We have a petition. Signed said petition. I think it's a good thing. I'm getting updates from the government, so I think absolutely brilliant. Talk us through it.
So the petition then is to add content on death, dying, and bereavement into the national curriculum. It's something that I've been interested in for about 5 or 6 years. With my role as president, it provided me a platform to really speak about it, give me a more powerful voice. And the petition was an opportunity to give people a tool to talk about their loss and get behind it and empower the public. And we needed 10,000 signatures to get it through Parliament. We had just under 12,000, so that's been a great success. And been really fascinating and quite overwhelming to see the response we've had from that. So that's really good. And the government have come back to say there's going to be a public consultation, which will take place this year. Yeah. So the preparation has started for that already, about how we feed into that. There's a lot of charities like Child Bereavement UK, Project Eileen, lots of organisations behind me now who want to support this and will feed into that consultation. So how this will work then, it's going to teach children about the emotions and feelings that we go through when we lose somebody. So every 22 minutes in the UK, a child will lose a parent in the UK. Yeah. That doesn't include uncles, aunties, siblings, grandparents, and even pets. So it's about conversations, age appropriate, and it's going to help that child that loses a loved one in a classroom in the UK. But as important, it will also help the classroom, their friends, to understand what that person's going through. Yeah. So there's compassion and empathy. Absolutely. Which is so important because, again, we spoke before we started this about disconnect now in society. Yeah. It's about connection. And again, this will help support teachers and actually provide them a more positive environment to learn in. And then the outcome, as I've said before, will have a real positive effect on society, a kinder society, which I think we're all responsible for in trying to do. Again, giving these tools to young people, that will see them through to later life as well. So one of the pushbacks I've had by one of the MPs was, well, why don't parents teach this rather than schools? Okay. I said, well, yeah, I agree. Parents teaching it would be better, or another option. But actually, a lot of adults can't discuss this stuff. No, it's difficult. Yeah, a lot of adults will cross the road rather than having to see someone they know who's gone through a bereavement or loss. So it's about how we have to start at the source. And actually, children deal with death. It's so black and white for children. Yeah. You know, you'll see it in what you do. I see it in what I do. And with education and with clarity, things are quite straightforward and simple. So it's about how we give age-appropriate sessions to youngsters. Yeah. And we improve our nation's relationship with death. And actually the result of that is a better way of living and life for us all.
This is sort of part and parcel of this podcast, really, you know, trying to dispel those myths, because no one really knows, because it's not taught.
It's education, yeah.
I've got to come back to Mum,
Yep.
to Maria. So you were quite young when she passed away?
I was 12.
12,
yeah.
okay. What, I mean, from your support at school, so this is driven, this petition is driven from your experience, so I take it you didn't have support at school?
So within my immediate family, I was very lucky. My dad's obviously in the industry.
Yeah.
He was very, very open and honest with me about what's going to happen to my mum. He said,
Okay.
John, your mum's going to die. Make sure you speak to her. Make sure you get all the things you want to talk to her about. Make sure you tell her how much you love her. So I was very lucky in that sense. But then the school elements, my dad wrote to the head of the school to tell them that my sister and I had suffered the loss of our mum. And about 4 or 5 months later, my dad got a phone call from the head of the year to say John's performance in class has dropped. Is everything okay at home?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, was that read? Obviously not.
well, the thing is, it's easy. You put it in a drawer, and we'll sort it out tomorrow. That one, and it wasn't acknowledged. And I'm not bitter. I'm not a victim at all, because
No,
as I say,
no.
I feel so lucky to have my mum for 12 years. But actually, I know what can be done. I know how special that time could be. Still sad, but actually working in a closer community and all together, it could be really impactful, powerful time for a family or for a young person.
Yeah.
As we see with funerals as well, we see it. The funeral industry is very reactive. When someone comes through our door, the house is already on fire. It's about how we take control of them.
Yeah.
And that's what really has empowered me to do this, because of how I've empowered young people to deal with their loss. And I give examples recently to somebody else about coming to see their loved one, youngsters, and how they've helped me take fingerprints for their mum.
Helped you do it? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even helped me close the coffin.
Yeah.
Even, all these small things can be as impactful and more powerful, or as powerful as the actual funeral service. So it's about these connection points from death until the day of the funeral, and even afterwards, because after someone dies, they still remain part of you. So that's really important to remember as well.
Absolutely. I like how you were talking about reconnecting there, and you mentioned earlier, and we mentioned before this, about the disconnect.
Yeah.
You know, COVID has had a substantial impact with direct funeral services, and that disconnect, that moving away from, I think you've described it in a previous podcast, a platform to move forward with grief.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is the purpose of a funeral. I think that's really important. And I think you're doing a tremendous job at driving that.
Again, I think if we can acknowledge the emotions and feelings we will go through when we lose somebody, actually, which I didn't realise at the time of starting this, it will highlight the importance of why they have a funeral service.
Yeah.
And that sounds so obvious, but actually, society and the public, there is a rise in direct cremation and unattended direct cremation, so no contact with your loved one.
Yeah.
Convenience, stress-free, taking the grief out of a funeral. You can't do that. If you love somebody, you can't just suddenly just snap your fingers and make it all go away. You have to go through this. You have to have tears.
You can't
That's
bury it.
really important. And that's how you move forward.
Yeah.
So I always think when someone's arranging a direct cremation, is that's fine. I'm not against it. I just have my concerns about it. And as long as people are aware of the education of what it actually means. But the key thing is, where's someone going to be in 5 years' time with their grief?
Yeah.
So with an unattended direct cremation, things that I'll suggest to a family or offer them are, do you want to come and help load your mum's coffin onto the hearse or ambulance in the morning of the funeral of the direct cremation? You can't go into the chapel, which is the rules at the crematorium, but how do we create those connection points again?
Yeah.
Do you still want to see your mum or dad in the chapel arrest here the day before the direct cremation takes place? Because the connection is so important.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. As a family business, your bereavement support, so you've lost your mum, you've had tremendous support from your father, which has then driven this passion in your life.
Yeah.
You're now heading up the business, or you're there at the forefront of the business. Support that you give to your colleagues. So it's important for the schools and starting at the beginning. Yeah. But what about as colleagues that are working with you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think back to when we've done hard things, funeral services under traumatic deaths. Yeah. I think the key thing is to check in. And again, it's about being humane, that kindness within our sort of company to each other, that genuine care for each other. Because I think the industry is all about caring for the community, but care actually starts within the building. And that's, if you get it right within the building, that care for each other, the genuine care for each other in the building, that will flow outwards and your clients will receive a better level of care as well.
Absolutely. I completely agree. The direct cremations, does that affect your colleagues? Because from our perspective, we again, this disconnect and reconnect, even for the funeral professionals, we find it difficult to carry out a direct cremation or an unattended cremation because it doesn't feel like we've served the family properly.
Yeah.
Although we do it right, from our perspective, it's still dignified, it's still as it should be. But without that funeral service, it just doesn't...
And with that, I think at the start of COVID, that fear kicked in about, we had to start saying no to things in a funeral service, which I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
But actually, within 10 days, I quickly realised that we can still have connection, even with 6 people at the crematorium. And there's lots of things that we did, and many other funeral directors did, in having that innovation, how to evolve and adapt in that environment to still create connection.
Such as a guard of honour, for example. We used to have those along the streets.
Yeah, exactly that. There's a great example of connection. So it's so important, and I think, as I say, I'm not against direct cremation as long as the communities and the public are fully aware of the implications 5 years later, where you're going to be in yourself, in your heart, 5 years down the line.
Brilliant. I'm going to bring us back onto the schools.
Yep.
The bereavement care, because I think that's tremendously important. I think that beginning piece is where it needs to begin. How does it look? How's it going to be taught? I'm going to bombard you with questions now.
No, please do.
So, who's going to be teaching it? Is this something that the school will be delivering themselves? Will it be third-party experts coming into the school to perhaps do training sessions, or will they be training teachers for this, I guess, familiarity for the pupils there, for the students?
So firstly then, there are some schools in the UK already doing what I'm proposing.
Okay.
Yeah. The vast majority, though, have nothing in place.
Yeah.
The schools that have something in place, they have lesson plans and sessions already done by charities like Child Bereavement UK, Project Eileen. The stuff's already done. I don't want to reinvent the wheel and start doing lessons and create lessons. It's already done. It's working.
Okay.
What I see my responsibility as is trying to connect it all up. So getting these sessions and lesson plans into schools all over the UK. We shouldn't have to rely on proactive individuals within schools to ensure this education is being taught. There should be a net across the whole thing to ensure that everybody's given the opportunity to learn about such important issues.
Absolutely.
So what does it look like then? I was asked about this recently, and I gave an example quickly. So, for example, Lion King. Okay.
Okay.
You could explain the point in Lion King. So, and the point why I say that, because children are already seeing death.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Disney, their books, their stories. Yeah. Every day during COVID-19, seeing numbers on the screen.
Yeah.
The Queen's funeral. You can't avoid that.
Can't avoid that.
Yeah, it's everywhere around you. So people saying, well, you're exposing children to unnecessary sadness. They're already seeing it. All we're going to be doing is providing clarity. So Lion King, for example, the point where his dad dies.
Yeah.
Okay. Press pause there. How do we think Simba is feeling right now? He's sad. He's angry. He feels guilty. He's fearful. He's devastated. He runs away. Actually, we can do then is explore and expand on those emotions. What does guilt actually mean? Why is he guilty? Why is he fearful? So we go through all these emotions and actually unpick them. What do they all mean? And actually, if we carry on pressing play, later on, he learns actually how to take his dad with him. Yeah. Again, and that's what I've done with the loss of my mum. She's still my fire and fuel. And like all bereavements and losses, once someone dies, it's physically they go, but actually emotionally that love remains always. Yes. So there's an example for you straight away.
That's a really good example.
And it's a character in a cartoon film. So it's not a direct person, it's a character, and they know the story. They know the stories. So it's already there. It's just expanding on things that they already know.
I think, yeah, absolutely brilliant example. I mean, when you think about films that Disney Pixar, I'm thinking of the film Up.
Yep.
There's loss in there, and that's
most of them.
And,
yeah. Or it's loss, or it's about trauma.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the children's films are about that separation.
Yeah. It's about just steering it right. How I mean, is this something that's going to be reviewed? Is it an annual lesson? Is it something that would be ongoing? I know you're not reinventing the wheel, as it were,
so
but just delivery.
how I see it will be is to teach it alongside sex education.
Okay.
So we learn about how we brought into the world.
Okay.
Let's learn about how we leave the world.
Good. Yeah.
And that the age levels would be my proposal is the same. So latter end of primary school, and then the start of secondary school. That's where I'd like to see it. In the PHSE as a mandatory session taught.
Brilliant. That is brilliant. Can we get involved?
Yes.
I mean, I know I've signed said petition, and I believe it was my colleagues came back from one of your NAFD sessions and sort of distributed, sign this petition.
Thank you.
But hopefully this is something that our viewers, our listeners can be involved with as well. So
Yes,
where
please.
do they go? What do they do?
So the next stage now, as I say, is the public consultation, which has been carried out by the Department of Education. We haven't got a date yet when that's going to be out and started, so we're just waiting for that. Prior to that, so we have started preparation now. I was involved as a co-author as a research paper carried out by Bristol University, which again will feed into that. Other experts to feed into the consultation again when it's open.
Yeah.
So it's just preparing. So at the NAFD conference in a few weeks' time, I'll be presenting the next steps, which will be really clear. And again, if you can feed into that consultation, if you can speak to your viewers, if they can if they can engage with their MPs, if they can feed into that consultation when it's open, that'll be huge. Let's just we need to show and provide the information of why and how it's going to help. So
it's something we can drive as a community.
Yeah,
to
100%.
make this happen. Brilliant, John. Absolutely brilliant. Look, great to meet you. Such passion. I genuinely do hope that we can help and get more people on the petition and more people on board. But I think what you're doing is really, really important. And it comes from the absolute right place as well.
Thanks so much indeed. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Please do like, share, subscribe, send any questions. If you've got any questions for John, just send them in to us, liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we'll see you next time.